All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Steve. My name is Claudia. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the street of Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Siv Jakobsen accepted our invitation to the show. Siv, welcome to the show.
Sorry?
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Let's go back to the beginning, Steve. Were you born like in a musical family, and how old were you when you started perhaps taking guitar lesson or piano lesson, that sort of things?
Well, yes and no. No one in my family is a musician by trade.
Yeah.
It was there was a piano in the family in the upper, generations, and all my mom and all her sisters learned how to play the piano. But no one did it professionally until me, I guess. I didn't really learn how to play guitar until I was an adult, but I did learn. I did choir lessons and then private voice lessons when I was a kid, from probably the age of 6.
Wow! So I imagine that you were the kind of kid that was singing in the car or in the church or with friends. So your parents noticed this little girl, like music and like singing, I suppose, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, they just let me do whatever I wanted, really.
That's pretty good. And then to high school, were you like in any band, forming a band, playing with some friends in school?
I played in high school because I went to a music like a music high school, which means that we did all the normal subjects, and then we did music subjects as well.
Yeah.
So I did lots of performing kind of in the school environment, but not really much outside of it until later on, after I was done with school.
I got it. There are so many great musicians in your country.
Thank you.
I have interviewed even people from Norway, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the other thing for me, coming from the United States, is great music. But for you guys, I suppose there are so many great artists that it's kind of difficult to differentiate yourself in your country, right? Is that a fair assessment? Or?
For that, I can't. That it's hard for me to differentiate myself.
It's different because there are so many great artists in your country, right? So many great musicians and band. Is it hard to make a name for yourself than there?
Yes, and I mean it's hard. It's hard because I'm like living this life with this is my job, and it's definitely not the easiest choice, but I don't believe it would be any easier anywhere else. I think it's a pretty tough job. But I will say that in Norway we have a lot of support from the government, and
I see.
I think if anything, it's easier here than other places. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a small place, but that means that it's a small and really nice community. So I feel it's a really great thing to get to be a musician here.
For you, what kind of music were you listening when you were, before you came to United States, when you were, I don't know, 16, 17, 18? You were finishing high school there.
What was I listening to? I listened to a lot of like kind of singer-songwriters, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a Norwegian artist called Maria Mena a lot.
Yeah.
And Marit Larsen I listened to a lot. I remember loving Keen, if you know that band.
Yeah, of course.
Damien Rice.
Yep.
Joss Stone, I really loved. I listened to her a lot. I had like kind of a soul R&B phase, and I love Joss Stone and Etta James, and
very great names. Yeah. Were you able to when you were kind of 17, 18, were you able to either buy music, buy vinyl, or attend shows in your town? It was like any age restriction that you couldn't go to a club or something like that to listen to live music?
It was most gigs in Norway, you have to be 18 or over, at least when I don't know what it's like now. I think it's still like that, but I can't be sure. But when I remember being 16 and not knowing that, and but thankfully, I think I looked a bit older than my age, and my mom would always come with me to gigs, so I would be let in, but I don't think I was supposed to. It was a pretty strict age limit, but I'm not sure if they just saw that I had a parent with me and they were like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I'm very lucky because in the state where I live in the border with Washington and Maryland. So every band come this way. And I mean literally every band. So I'm able to see, I don't know, between 40 and 60 shows a year. So I'm very lucky.
Okay.
And so I'm going to a gig tonight. I'm going to see Peter Gabriel tonight. So I'm very happy.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, so and I have a big music collection. So music has always been have played an important part in my life since I was a little kid. But I'm a computer scientist. So music is my passion. I don't read music. I don't know how to play. I just love to go to gigs and buy music and enjoy music. So eventually you finished high school and then you were able to come to Berklee in Boston for some of us some of the listeners that don't know, the Berklee School of Music is a very, very famous school in Boston, and very difficult to get in, very difficult to finish. You have great professor, great student over the world. You need to pass like an entrance exam, and it used to be like you need to send tape and a video, and then you need to go there and do like a live presentation. Okay, I want to play drums. Okay, show me what you have, what style, and you go like 3 or 4 processes. So it's not that easy, and it's expensive as well. So it's very cool. So feel free to tell me how you got in and your experience in Berklee, living in Boston, and so on, so with the snow. Well, but you're used to snow. You can.
Yeah, I mean, the snow was not a problem. The snow was very familiar for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no experience with any other college or any other university, so I wouldn't know if it was that easy or hard to get in. I remember going to Boston and I did an audition, sang for them, and I think I did a bit of a test, and then I got in and I went, and it was, I mean, I really had a great time. I learned a lot. My favorite part of it was that because there are so many students, there's also so many different options for what you can study. Because when you have, I think there's 5,000 students, there's going to be a lot of different subjects available, and that was what I really drew me to the school, is that I wanted to have a bit of a broader palette and try. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in music. I hadn't really started writing much music at that point, so I didn't really go with the intention of being a songwriter. But because of all the opportunities that they have there to study songwriting, I was able to try it out, and I really loved it, and it kind of led me to where I am today.
Good for you, man. By the way, you speak very good English, so better than I do. And then many kids at their age, they're 20, 22 studying, they have the opportunity to play with some of the professors on the weekend, and then form a band to make a little bit of money while going to school there. Were you able to hang out with some of the professor and then play in the bands when you were 20? Or
I didn't really do that.
I got it. Yeah.
As an international student, I wasn't really allowed to make any money.
See, yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure people did anyway, but I didn't really have the opportunities either. I would play free shows around Boston, which we were allowed to do.
I got it.
Yeah. I mean, I had a great relationship with many of my teachers, but I didn't play in any bands with them. No.
No. So you were eventually you finished, right? And you thought to yourself, what's next? What year are we talking about when you finished? What year was that?
2013.
2013, perfect. Yeah. That was like 2 years before your first album. So where are you? What did you do after that? I think you went to live in New York for a year.
I went to live in New York for just under a year.
Yeah.
And I wrote my first EP, The Lingering, that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then I recorded it there the last couple of months that I lived in New York before I came back to Norway. Yeah.
It was difficult, expensive to. I'm quite sure that it's not that easy to write.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was well.
Studio.
Yeah, it was quite an expensive place to be, and my visa was running out anyway, so I decided to go home. I hadn't been living at home for 5 years, so I thought it was time to go home and try that out. And yeah.
Would you have stayed if you have the opportunity, or you knew that you needed to come home, miss your family, your friends?
Sorry.
If you have the opportunity, yeah. If you have the opportunity to stay, would you have stayed, or you knew that you wanted to go back to your country for family and friends?
I did pursue the very first couple of stages of getting a new visa.
I got it. Yeah.
I think in the process of kind of collecting information for that, I realized that I actually wanted to go home. Maybe if I didn't have to have a visa, maybe I would have stayed for a bit longer. That's hard to know, but that's not what happened.
I told my parents that I was coming for 4 years to finish my bachelor. That was 30 years ago.
Well,
but I have all my life here, and this country has been very good to me. The Lingering album was released in 2015. I was listening to all your music in the last 2 days to prepare questions for the interview. I really like the track Dark and How We Used to Love. Very good tracks, right? So it's usually I put my headphone, I drink a beer, I listen to stuff, it's a very, very good band. Is it difficult in general term to open up for people? I mean, you as a listener, right? You sometimes, I don't know, Johnny Mitchell yourself, and will write lyrics that are difficult, or they went to a difficult moment in your life, and some are true, some are half true, and you open up, you become vulnerable, right? Writing. So is it difficult, or is easy for you to write about your life or personal life or whatever, right? So whether a family pass away or your dad pass away, whatever, it's difficult to open up, or comes easy for you?
The writing is kind of a necessary thing, I think, for me in my life. It's kind of how I understand what's going on.
You have no choice.
So the writing isn't. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's always easy to write, but it's a necessary thing for me. However, what I will say is that I don't always find it so easy to talk about it afterwards. Then because it's when it's you have something presented in song form, it's a very specific type of presentation, if you will. Whereas when you talk about it afterwards, you kind of strip it of its magic sometimes. So that I can find that can be a bit difficult. But the writing itself, although of course sometimes the songs don't come easy, I still find that process comfortable.
Right. So by the way, it's a very, very good album. I need to get that album. So you finished Berklee, well-known school. You finished your Lingering in 2015. You went back to your own country, and so what do you do next? It was you start sending, I suppose, your album, or reaching out to different radio station to see if you could play your music or try to get a band. What was the next step in 2016 or so?
In 2016, I believe I was working in a coffee shop and writing the Nordic Mellow, which was my first full-length album. And then I also in the same year, that summer, I made it in London with a good friend of mine, Matt Ingram, who's the producer on that album. So that year was kind of, I just remember being really tired because I was working a lot as a barista and writing a lot, and spent all the money I made as a barista in other coffee shops writing lyrics for that record.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
So you have like a notebook where you always like a
Yeah,
piece
I
of
did. I
paper,
did at
you
the time.
always have
Yeah.
ideas and writing, and so your life
I
on
had
the day
to-
you were the coffee
Yeah,
shop,
but
you
I
were home,
remember
and
writing up all the ideas out on big pieces of paper and taping them on the walls of my little room that I had. I lived in a shared flat with 6 other people, and or 5 other people, and I would just write all the lyrics out on white pieces of paper and tape them on my wall. So I think anyone who came in probably thought I was quite crazy.
it's okay. Oh,
Yeah.
people do whatever they need to do, right? So
Yeah. It's a good way. It's a good way to visualize what you have.
absolutely, yeah.
Making an album. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person as well. So
Yeah.
and then in 2017, a couple of years after you went back to your country, and then you end up releasing the album, the Nordic Mellow, which is a very good album as well. I like the track called Blanket.
No, thank you.
Yeah, was it now? So you were working in a coffee shop, came from Berklee, second album. Then again, was where you break it even to your country in terms of playing some gigs, playing some small coffee shop, the radio, playing your music was even though with 2 albums, still was it difficult for you to make a name for yourself in your own country?
I think by that point things were going a bit
Better,
more smoothly. I was touring a lot that year. I think both before and after the album came out, I spent a lot of time on tour. Yeah, that's kind of what I remember from that year. I released that album myself on my own label, so it was a lot of work, making sure that it was a good professional release and all that boring stuff. Then I played so many shows for that album, which was great. I got to go to some really cool places. I got to go to Japan, and although that was a bit later, but it was still kind of on that record. And
wow,
Turkey, and yeah, it's great. Canada.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah,
so then I imagine that you were making a little bit of money, so you left the coffee shop, and instead of living with a bunch of guys.
By that point, I left the coffee shop and was trying to be a full-time musician. Still trying.
No, you're doing very well. And so I imagine that you were living with a bunch of roommates to save money.
Yeah.
You left that area, I mean, that part of your life, and you moved into your own apartment, I suppose, right? So you were moving up in the world. By the way, have you ever played here? Yeah, have you ever played here in the United States, professional or no?
Not professionally, I would say. I did it right after I finished Berklee. I did a tour with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we drove around in an old Prius on the West Coast, and we played shows in bars and coffee shops and things like that. But I wouldn't call it very professional, but it was a good experience, really good experience.
Where I live here in the DC area, there are many venues, Siv. So I could, if you ever play here, I could recommend you some. I know most of the venue.
Great. No, I feel like that was a lie when I said, because I did come over in March 2020, and I played a few shows, but then
COVID hit, and then
the pandemic happened, and I had to go home. And by the time the pandemic was over, my visa had run out again. So that's why I've not been coming to the States to play, because it's a bit of a process getting permission to come play.
I take it for granted because I'm a U.S. citizen. I live here, right? So, but for many musicians, I think it's very expensive. You need to get like a visa fee, so you need to X number of shows to make it worthwhile to here. You're not going to come from fly overnight for one gig and then return, right? So it's a big process. It's a bit difficult. And So the year after, you end up, start playing, and you release an album called Live in Oslo in 2018, which is I have it somewhere here. This one, yeah, which is you have 9 tracks. It's beautiful. It's a very good album. I really like that.
Oh,
I got to know your music with this album, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And very grateful to Glenn. He helped me out. He sent me this stuff as well, like a picture some years ago. Like a sort of postcard with, so.
Yeah.
And where you, so now, okay, so you release that album, will play more venues. Were you selling?
Just want to say, this is my dog. That you can just see a tail. You can just see a tail, but my dog is just moving around. If anyone's
Right.
you're
Right,
wondering, it's just my dog.
I understand. Were you able to sell like a merchandise and CDs or vinyl at the end of the shows at the time? Were people buying that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Because what's happened nowadays, a band XYZ band, release a new album and it costs them whatever, 50 grand to do it, $50,000 to make it, right? People who are fewer and fewer are buying CDs, buying on Blu-ray, whatever. It's not my case because I buy a lot of stuff, but how you recover their investment? So they end up, they borrow, took a loan for 50 grand, so they end up selling. They need to sell a lot of meet and greet and vinyl and take picture with at the end of the gig to try to recover that investment, right? Is that you or T-shirts and merchandise in general, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, I have merchandise, but I don't have meet and greets.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, you're famous.
Yeah,
you're very good. You're very humble, but you're very good.
Not quite there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question was, but
no, the question was, do you end up selling a lot of merchandise? And you have like a merchandise section at the end of every gig that you play.
I do. Yeah.
Do you? I think I went to your history, and you play in several gigs in London as well, right? You go there often. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So very good, very good album. And then, so we're talking about 2018. So now you were more comfortable. More people were, I suppose, listening to your music. You were on Spotify. I don't know if you're in Bandcamp, but you're getting, kind of well known, I suppose. Was mostly in your country, or you were getting requests for managers and venues in other countries as well for you to tour in other places, or were you mostly where you were only well known in your country, in Norway?
I would actually say that I always had more success outside of, up until recently, I had more success outside of Norway than inside of Norway. So it was kind of the other way for me.
Yeah. What do you think is the case? For what we talked before, there are so many great artists.
I don't know. Maybe I guess it wasn't quite the right time for my kind of music in Norway. Yeah. Whereas I would say there's quite a big love for singer-songwriters in the Netherlands, for example, and in Belgium and the UK. So I found that my music seemed to reach further there than here.
Yeah, people in your country need to listen to Siv Jakobsen. You're very good, Siv. You're very humble and a nice lady, but you're a very good musician. I have listened to a lot of them. Have a big music collection there, but I have 4 floors full of music. So I would like to believe that I know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah, thank you.
People need to buy your music and listen to your music and see you play live. Yeah. And then in 2020, you end up releasing the Temporary Soothing, which is this album actually. So let me show you with some drawing inside and so forth. Which this is a masterpiece, Siv.
Thank you very much.
It's a very, I'm very serious. I'm not joking.
No, thank you very
very,
much.
very good album.
Thank you.
Very,
Yeah,
very
I
good.
like it.
Yeah. And so now you release this album now. I
Yeah.
suppose that now it's a lot easier to make a living as a musician and travel and touring more, where your music was playing the radio. So tell me how it was evolution for 2015 to 2017, the live in Oslo, and then this guy.
Well, I guess that album I made, when I made it, it was, I think I made it in 2018 and 19.
Yeah.
I went over to Devon in the UK, in the south of England, and made it with a wonderful producer there, Chris Bond.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like a wonderful experience to go there. They had a studio in the middle of nowhere in the woods, kind of. There were cows grazing outside the studio window that would walk by, and it was like a really kind of picturesque experience. But then when it came out, obviously that was in the middle of the pandemic. So that release for me, you know, I did pretty much everything from home. So I sat in my apartment and did this, you know, like interviews on the computer, and then I did because in Norway we were able to do some events. I did a coffee house tour. So I called every coffee shop I knew of, and I asked if I could come play songs, and so I did that, which was really lovely, and got to travel around Norway in a little camper van, and play shows. And sometimes it was like to 5 people, and sometimes it was to 20. You know, that was all very small because it had to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a nice experience. And then I just went straight into making the next record. Yeah,
and with the pandemic, it was, you know, need to be a small number of people, and it was very difficult time. But if you're like a touring musician like yourself, it's difficult to make a living because you cannot tour, you're not making money. Fewer people with the economy, you know, went down, and were buying CDs, vinyl, you couldn't attend shows, I suppose. So it was a difficult period financially for you guys to survive between 2020 and 2022, I suppose, right?
I mean, of course it wasn't easy. I mean, we didn't have work, but again, you know, I have to say that in Norway, there's a pretty good net. We call it like there's a net that catches you if you fall, if that makes sense.
I got it. Yeah.
So there was Corona. They called it Corona support, COVID support. So we were okay, but it definitely wasn't a flourishing time.
I got it. So
but we were fine. Yeah.
A survival period or something.
Yeah.
To pay the bills. 3 tracks that I like for that album. By the way, the album is the recording, right? So I listened to the 3 album before, right? The mastering and the recording is much better, than the other one. So I put attention to the quality, the mixing.
Which one are you talking about now?
The Temporary Soothing. It's a very well recorded and produced and mixed album. As I say, when I listen to music, I really listen to stuff. I put my headphone and it's very well done album. So whatever.
I'm glad you like it.
Yep, very well done. Yeah, the tracks were great, but the recording and the mix was done very well, I think, my opinion. 3 tracks for that album that I like: Fear the Fear, Anywhere Else, and then A Feeling Felt or Feeling Made. I think I saw a video. Could be Anywhere Else, I think. It's a very good. I like the video as well. I like the lyrics and I like the song.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that video was shot in this apartment that I'm in.
Really? Yeah, good for you.
Still living in the same place.
All right, that's okay. Is it? I mean, in terms of your writing abilities, you always writing song and you waiting for kind of the right album, or you are the type of person, or you know, okay, I'm taking a Friday off. I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I want to go to my room, whatever, and then write the best piece of my life, or you're driving a car, walking down the street, and ideas come to your head, and you start writing stuff down? What's the process for you to write music for someone like me who is not a musician?
I'm pretty structured in my process, so I usually get to a point. So now that I released an album in January, and then I went on tour, and now it's been over 6 months, and I'm not touring so much with that anymore. So now I'm starting to write the new album. So I'm quite like cyclical with the way that I work. So now that's my main focus, is writing new music. And then that's kind of what I do, 9 to 5. Obviously do some other things as well, but that's kind of my main focus at the moment. And then I finish writing, and then I go and record it, produce it, and then I prepare for the release, and then I release it, and then I tour it, and then that kind of goes around and around.
Good for you. So 2-3 years after, you end up releasing Gardening, right? Which I think is the first album that you recorded on the city, right? The other were done sort of outside your country in the UK and done in. Why? What was that? What was the difference between doing outside and this one in Europe?
I made it in 20. Was it 2021, 2020? I can't remember. We made it. I can't. Yeah, the years are blurring together in the pandemic. But I made that album when it was still full pandemic.
Oh wow!
So first of all, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. Second of all, I wanted to see what it was like to make something at home. I mean, I wrote it at home, but I wasn't recording the album in my own house, but just the kind of idea of going somewhere for the day and then coming home and sleeping in my own bed, being in my own apartment. I was curious about what that process, like how that would affect the process. Maybe that sounds like very detailed, but and strange, but because I had always gone away and lived away from home in some Airbnb, and kind of gone into like a full album mode for 2 weeks at a time. Whereas with this album, we made it over, I want to say it was 9 months.
Right.
So a very long process of making it and going back and forth to the studio and writing and recording at the same time. And it was a very different process to what I've done before, but very interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
So you were kind of driving or taking the bus or walking. You will wake up, go to the studio, come back at 5. The next day, the same thing. The next day, instead of going away 2 weeks to Norway to work with that guy or that guy. Perfect. Yeah. Very different. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do that every day for 9 months. We would do it for a week, and then we would have 2 weeks or 3 weeks off, and then we'd go in for a few days or a week again. So it was kind of on and off for 9 months.
Right. I read somewhere that you were, I think, you were touring with an American band. I think it's called Beach Bunny. I think if I remember correctly. Yeah. Were you touring in Norway as well, or in Europe with that?
No, it was UK and Ireland.
UK and Ireland. Got it.
Yeah, and that was it was just under a year ago now, November last year.
And then you were touring on November. You were touring this particular album, The Gardening, right? So
kind of. I mean, I released.
It was the beginning of our Gardening, right?
The first half of the Gardening album was already out, so I played songs from that, and then kind of, obviously played some old songs as well.
Yeah. In general terms, no, I'm not going to ask a question. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of no.
All good.
So you were, the story because you returned to home city. You were staying in your town. You worked into cities, and then again you go to, I suppose, to like an introvert period, right? You look at your life and the good, the bad, and the ugly, like they say here in the United States, and write lyrics. And and some of them are things that happen to us, right? All of us, I suppose. We broke up with somebody, or our parent died. In my case, my parent passed away recently, and we gotta, deal with that emotion, right? Sometimes, the problem go away for a while, and then the resurface, and I don't know. For example, I got into a fight with my sister like 2 weeks ago. Had nothing to do with her. It just happened to be was in front of me when I was talking to you. So I would take her to that stuff. So the lyrics in general, right? So people I think get attached to the stuff because most of the problems are the same for everybody, right? For us human beings, right? Right. So people, when you write lyrics that maybe have to have, make up, people see that, man, that was part of my life as well. So I'm quite sure that people have asked you about the question there. Some lyrics are very personal. That's what I was asking in the beginning. It's also difficult for you to open up and stuff. So
this record.
Yeah, for the gardening. Yeah.
It was. It wasn't hard to write, I would say, because I gave myself so much time, and I wrote it in that phase when it felt like the world was kind of ending, and I didn't know. I was able to trick myself into believing that I was just writing it for myself, and that there was no. Usually, I always know that there's an album at the end, but with this, I just wrote in a vacuum, just for my own peace of mind. I needed to get it out, and then we started recording some demos, and that became full recordings, and it kind of like I tricked myself into making this album because it was the only way I would feel safe doing it, because it was such a heavy subject matter.
Yep.
But it felt really good to put it out and kind of let people hopefully. Like my wish is that, someone might hear it and feel less alone in whatever it is that they've experienced. Even if what they experience is very different from me, it doesn't matter. I just hope that it can be like a kind of cathartic experience to be like, oh, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, like a book, right? 10 people walking down the street will read the same book, and it will affect them differently, right? And the same with music, the same with art. If you go to a museum, I see a Picasso painting. For me, I don't like it that much, but people pay $20 million to have a Picasso. I have no idea why, but that's my take, right? The same with music, right? Some music, the lyrics could resonate with people differently because similar thing, the dad passing away or breaking up with a boyfriend, girlfriend. So people assimilate that experience by listening to music. So that's what makes us a human being. And I really like the track Sun, Moon, and Stars. That was, I think I saw a video with I don't know how I know how to pronounce her last name, Anne Broom, I think.
Anne Broom,
yeah. And she's very good as well. She's, I think, well known in your country as well, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, very, very.
Yeah. You end up when you write that album, at the same time you start thinking about, okay, I want to make 4 videos, and in my opinion, the following tracks will make a video from the other on. You're doing it at the same time you're writing, or the videos are done at the end of the album when you decide?
The videos were done after.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, made the videos after, when I knew what the kind of theme for the album was. Then we found out how to create like a world for the album.
Yeah, it's a very good video actually. I saw it the other day on YouTube, I think.
Thank you very much.
And the other track that is great is Most of the Time.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did like that. So I suppose after the album was finished, were you touring in your country again, right, in 2023 now?
I went, did the European and UK tour this February and May. and yeah, just toured kind of all over the UK and Europe. Not all over, but quite a few places.
Yeah, I got it. And I think in my understanding, you mentioned that you are working on new materials, a new album that you plan on releasing, I don't know, a year or two, I suppose, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when it's going to be finished, but that's kind of my main focus right now, is to write a new album. Yeah. And then I have some other stuff coming out at some point as well. That's kind of in between. Hopefully early next year.
Like EP, releasing individual EP, or playing with other people and releasing collaboration?
No, like kind of an EP or something like that. We'll see.
Well, for you.
Yeah.
All right. Like I told you before, any possibility of touring here in the United States is possible? I know it's very expensive.
I would love to. It's just it's all about opportunity and means. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I would love to.
I really like to. I would like to, but
yeah, as I mentioned before, there are many great venues, and here in the United States, you're very talented, Siv. You're a good person, and hopefully, somebody watching this, a producer, a promoter, can help you out and arrange some gigs for you to play. And because you're I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, give me a call. I said.
Yeah, that's right, because you're very good at what you do. So it was very nice talking to you, Siv. Good luck with the touring, and hopefully see you here in the United States. I would like to see you play live with the new album that you're working on, and you're good, you're talented, you're a good person. So
Thank you very
hopefully
much.
somebody will open door for you here in the United States, because it's another world, another market altogether that could open up for you guys as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Yeah, take it easy. Have a great day, and thank you very much again.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure, bye.